Hello, and the purpose of this video is to discuss a picture that was circulated in Instagram by the Extinction Rebellion Youth Sweden. And I think it's a picture that is very emblematic. It is a picture that I saw first on Facebook, and then I sort of like passed it on Instagram and read it, and it generated a lot of discussion. So I want to talk about it a little bit here in this video. And the picture in question is this one. It depicts, a group of Swedish police, seizing Extinction Rebellion youth demonstrator, and apparently these kids were engaged in an act of civil disobedience. This is a picture that appeared on Facebook, right? It was they were in the Social Democrats' house, I suppose in Stockholm somewhere. But you can see here, in the Facebook video that they posted, these were the kids, that they were demonstrating in the or occupying the Social Democrats' house, right? And this is Extinction Rebellion, and they did this during the in recent days, right? This little video that they did was posted 3 days ago, and today it is 31st of March. So yeah, so there you go. See, they're sitting there, doing their demonstration, and then come the police and remove them, right? Remove them, as it says here. See, the police came and removed them, right, from the Social Democrats' house. And what these kids were asking for, is really they were simply asking for Sweden to stop import of Russian oil and gas, which is really interesting, because on the one hand, the Swedish state or the Swedish government, the Social Democrat government, which is led, I don't know, by the first woman statsminister, right? The Swedish Obama, right? She went ahead and approved all this money for the Ukrainian government so that they could, buy weaponry or whatever. Like, Sweden gave a bunch of money to Ukraine, the Ukrainian government, right? And also help with weaponry and all these things that Sweden has given the Ukrainian government. But on the other hand, Sweden is buying oil and gas from Russia, so Putin is using this money that they are getting from selling oil and gas to Sweden, and using it to fund his military. So it's a total contradiction, It's typical Social Democrat duplicity, That's typical of the Social Democrats, Typical Social Democrat duplicity and inconsistency, So, it's totally, and it's also hypocritical, because now the Swedish state is granting automatic asylum to Ukrainian refugees, which is great. 100% is wonderful that the Swedish state is granting automatic asylum to the Ukrainian refugees, right? As far as I'm concerned, anybody who comes into Sweden from Ukraine should be given an automatic permanent residence permit. No questions asked. No questions asked. If a Ukrainian shows up and they have like a Ukrainian ID card, and they say, I'm from Ukraine, or whatever, and that's all it should take for the Swedish state to grant them a permanent residence permit at this point. That's what I think, So I mean, like they did with the Syrians back in 2015 and 16, now Sweden is parroting around, oh, we're granting automatic asylum to the Ukrainians, right? Milking it for all it's worth, just like they did with the Syrians, right, back in a few years back, where they milked it for all it's worth, while at the same time they were throwing the Afghans under the bus, right? But that's another story. But it's totally hypocritical of the Swedish state to be going around granting automatic asylum to the refugees of the war when they're buying oil and gas from Putin, Putin is using that money to finance his military, which is the military he used to invade Ukraine. It's totally hypocritical and totally contradictory. So I agree 100% with these kids, these young people from Extinction Rebellion, Extinction Rebellion, where they occupied the Social Democrats' house. They were right, to do this, this action, protesting against, Sweden buying oil and gas from, from Russia. It was horrible. I mean, it's horrible what the Swedish state is doing, So yeah, I just wanted to like point that out. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. You can see it. There you go. See? Yeah, these kids were right. These kids were right in doing that, in doing this action, and judging from this video of these kids, they're probably like, they're no older than 24. These kids, and they've grown up believing that Swedish is a democracy and what have you, and they expected the Social Democrat Statsminister to come down and talk to them, and she didn't. Of course she's not going to talk to them, because she's a social democrat. She's even though these kids are pointing out the obvious hypocrisy that Sweden is buying oil and gas from Russia while giving money to the Ukrainian government and giving asylum to the refugees, but Putin is using the money to fund the military. It's ridiculous. So anyways, and another thing I wanted to point out, though, because a few days ago I got an email from somebody in Germany who told me, how dare you use because I have a video where I did a thing where I filmed an exhibit that they had at the library about people who oppose injustice or whatever, and Sophie Scholl was one of them, and one of the persons showcased in that exhibit. So I took the video, and Sophie Scholl shows up among others, right? And I'll put a link in the description to that video. And anyway, somebody from Germany wrote me, how dare you use the face of Sophie Scholl to attack democracy, right? Because in other videos I've expressed that I'm very skeptical as to whether Sweden really qualifies as a real democracy, right? And not just Sweden, but the European Union, and Germany inclusive. So this person got upset and whatever, sent me that email. So my reply to that person is very simple. This is the democracy of Sweden right here. See, that's the democracy, right? Where young people who were rightfully protesting against the duplicity of the Swedish state, of the Swedish government, were physically removed from the Social Democrats' house. That's the Swedish democracy right there. Bodies of armed men. Bodies of armed men. Karl Marx was right. The state is bodies of armed men. The essence of the state is bodies of armed men. Here you are. Here is the picture. This is my reply to that person. I think that Sophie Scholl would be on the side of the kids occupying the Social Democrats' house and not the policemen. That's what I would think. I mean, obviously, Sophie Scholl is not here to tell us which side she would take, but I think she would probably take the side of the young people occupying the Social Democrats' house rather than the police. That's what I think. I can't prove it, but yeah. So, anyways, I just wanted to make this quick video about the Extinction Rebellion youth, and I'm gonna put links in the description to their to the posting and to their Facebook page. Their Facebook page is Extinction Rebellion Youth Sweden, right? Extinction Rebellion Youth Sweden, and I'm gonna put a link to in the description to their page. And